Okay, so the good news is I think I found a way to actually plot points without them being X's or anything else weird happening. So we'll see. It's been going semi-smoothly. So I believe we got through 7 and we should be on 8. Yes? All right. Then let's see. What is A in number 8? 2. Okay. Frequency is 2. So the period would be pi. Good. Phase shift, left pi. Good. And midline, y equals 1. All right. This is secant. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So I'm going to sketch myself a little cosine here and draw in my midline at y equals 1. Okay. All right. So cosine starts on the y-axis. The only thing that changes that is a phase shift, and I have a phase shift, so my first either point or asymptote is not going to be on the axis. I usually, for cosine, I start above the midline, whatever A is. A is 2. There's no negative. I'm not reflecting, so I'll go up from the midline 2. But then I have to shift to the left pi, so my first point is right there. Oh my gosh, come on, board. The first point is there. All right, so then the end of the period, I have the same y value. Well, the period ends at, oh, I don't know why I have these extra points. Oh my goodness. See, I thought I would, whatever. Oh, I think it might have been my sweatshirt that hit it. Sorry. Yeah, I end the period at pi, same y value, but I have to shift to the left pi, so I'm actually up here on the y-axis. We good? Halfway between the two, I'd be below. So now that I've shifted the beginning and the end, I don't really have to worry about the shift anymore. I can just go halfway between these two and go down from the midline 2. Okay, because those 3 points are the same, whether it's cosine or secant. But then at halfway between these 2 points, cosine has a 0, but what does secant have? An asymptote, right? Anywhere that has a 0, this has an asymptote. So halfway between these two, I have an asymptote between both of them like that. So those are my 5 anchor pieces. Then from there, everybody good with where all that came from? That I can just repeat and fill it in. And you are always, when you go to sketching the curves, you're going away from the midline. So you get the points there, and then they open away from the midline every time, no matter what kind of transformation happens. Looks something like that. What questions do we have? Anything? Bless you. All right. Then let's look at number 9. What is A in number 9? 1. So A is 1. Frequency is 2, which makes the period what? Pi halves. Very good, because this is cotangent, so the original period is pi, which makes this pi halves. Then which direction is my phase shift? Right, 3 pi halves. Midline, y equals -3. All right, so this is cotangent. So the little parent function I'm going to draw is of tangent. And my midline, so y equals -3. All right, so tangent starts on the y-axis. The only thing that affects that is a phase shift. I do have a phase shift, so I'm actually going to start at 3 pi halves. Tangent is 0 there, so cotangent has what? Asymptote, right? If tangent was 0, cotangent has an asymptote. So I'm going to have an asymptote at 3 pi halves. The end of the period, tangent has another 0, which means cotangent has another asymptote. Period ends at pi halves, but I have to shift to the right 3 pi halves, which puts me here at 2 pi. Everybody with me? All right, so then tangent has an asymptote, which means cotangent has a 0, right? So halfway between these two, on the midline, I have a midline 0. Make sure you're not putting it on the axis. That's an easy mistake to make. That's why we draw in the midline, so we don't mess it up. Then halfway between these two, there's no negative, so I'm still going to go up whatever A is, and A is just 1. And then halfway between these two, I would go below the midline. So halfway between these two, I'm above the midline. Halfway between these two, I'm below the midline. So that is what my 5 anchor pieces look like. We good with that? So it kind of sucks when the period's a little smaller, because then that means that we have to repeat a ton. But if we're all good with where that came from, then just go ahead and repeat and fill it in. So lots of little skinny things, but there we go. What questions you got? We good? Awesome. Then I'm going to hand out your worksheet for you to graph.